back into RuneScape like last year.
Did you really?
Oh yeah,
Oh my God,
game,
dude.
that game brought back my childhood, bro. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I played for hours. Like it felt like my childhood again. I still play every so often.
Didn't
Um,
didn't we like have an account where we like went on there and I think we played together.
oh yeah, back in the
Yeah.
day, that's
Yeah.
right.
One. All right. We're good. Jason,
What up? What up?
have you been?
Good, really good.
It's been like,
Just,
what's that?
just trying to get through life. Everything's crazy right now, but I'm just getting through it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Why is that? With training clients or what? What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean it's well, of course, with all the lockdown stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good. I mean, business has been really good. A lot of training, just always busy, getting new clients, helping people to their goals. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good way to go. We've always been like really huge into this whole bodybuilding thing for like years, ever
Mhm.
since we started talking to each other through like our little group that we made like a while ago.
Yeah, man.
That was like
That
decades
was
ago.
shit. that
Yeah,
that was almost a decade ago, man. That's
yeah,
crazy.
right.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's funny like looking back at that and then like from where we all started to like where we're at right now. I was just like, I never really expected to like compete up to this point. you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of
It's
crazy.
it's crazy, man. Like and people from that forum, our little like group forum that broke off from bodybuilding.com,
Mhm.
we were all, I mean, we're all so young and we're all like just kind of like coming into ourselves. We didn't really know anything about life or like anything about ourselves. So it's just funny to see how like people have gone off in their own directions, whether they kept bodybuilding or whether they just don't even lift weights anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, I think majority of them still lift weights. Some just are not on more competitive aspect of it because Joe still competes. Um,
Yeah, he's a
well,
monster.
kind of does his own thing. He has his
Mhm.
own supplement company, so that's pretty interesting. Vamshi.
Oh, Vamshi. Man, I haven't talked to that kid in forever.
He's pretty successful, of course.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and me on the other hand, I'm doing pretty good. A
Good.
lot better than I was. Not babysitting siblings anymore. So, other than that,
Good.
life's good as it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, one of the questions I think we kind of went over this it's been so long, but what really got you started into the whole bodybuilding aspect?
Oh man, a couple things. I mean, one of the main ones is my dad owned multiple gyms throughout my life. So my stepdad, my parents, my biological father, and my mom divorced when I was really young. I think I was like 6 or so, and then my stepdad uh, got into the picture pretty early too, like a couple years after. And he always had a bunch of gyms. And when I was a teenager, he owned a Gold's Gym, like a really big Gold's Gym. I think it was like must have been like 100,000 square foot facility. It was pretty big,
Yeah.
and I'd always been around it. I had gotten into playing football when I was younger, maybe like 12 or 13, and I was a really small kid. I mean, I must have barely broke 100 pounds, and being 5'8", the same height as I am now, so I was a skinny ass kid, and I was playing football for a bit, and I was okay. I wasn't the best football player. I was fast. I wasn't really good at like hitting people or any like skill set. But I wanted to get a little bigger, so my dad was like, "Well, why don't you come start lifting weights with me?" So I started lifting weights with him like 5 days a week, early in the morning, and he taught me how to do it from scratch. He taught me every single muscle group. We trained more like a bodybuilder, like hypertrophy type workouts, 5 days a week, like a bro split. And it worked really well. I was putting on a little muscle. At that point, I wasn't really eating that much. I hadn't really learned much about nutrition. So I was just kind of getting into it. And then I would play football. And I remember my freshman year, I was like 120 pounds, and football had ended, and I would always go to my dad's gym after school, so I would do like homework and stuff and just hang out there until they were done with work, and then we would go home. And he gave me a magazine, and I remember seeing all the bodybuilders in there. There wasn't really like a specific bodybuilder, But I remember looking at those guys. I'm like, man, like, how do they get this big? Like, I've never seen anything like this. This is the crazy. It just blew my mind that someone could like be that big. And I was asking my dad, I'm like, how do you get this big? And he's like, well, you need to eat a lot and you need to work out. And I was like, okay, like, can you teach me how to do this? Like, I want to do this. Yeah. He's like, okay. So he wrote me a workout program to do on my own. God, that was crazy back then, because he had me do like a lot of volume. I was in the gym for like 3 hours, and then 3 hours a day. And then he just had me eat a ton of food. And he's like, just eat as much as you can. He's like, here's like a rough sketch, but like, just eat. And I remember eating like most, like 2 of my meals were like a bunch of like 2 or 3 Hot Pockets with like muscle milk. Because he's like, you just need calories and protein. So I was like, okay, that's easy. And I just look on the back. I was like, okay, it's a lot of calories. There's a little protein. Cool. That's it. And I gained like 40 pounds in my first year of like seriously lifting. So I was like, shit. And yeah, I enjoyed it from there, and it was really fun. And then one of the trainers that trained under my dad, because he was the owner, well, the part owner, and he got a hold of me and was like, you have a really good physique. Like, you blew up really quick. Like, let's throw you in a teenage show. Yeah. So I did my first teenage show when I was 16. I placed like 3rd out of 6 guys, and I was hooked, and I loved it, and it was super fun.
That's actually way better than what I did on my first bodybuilding competition.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty bad. I actually did I did men's physique that first.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the first competition I did men's physique, and so what happened was like there was like 16th was the most you could place. Everyone else after 16th is like 16.
Yeah, everybody's 16th after. Yeah,
yeah, it was very depressing. I didn't know how to feel at that point, but just like, I think while I was actually doing that show, I was like asking you guys on the forum for information like what to do. I literally prepped for like maybe like 2 to 3 months.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, so like that made a lot of sense to just compete.
Yeah, it's funny when I did that first show too. My buddy kind of trained me, but like I didn't really like. I was kind of bringing my food to school, but I wasn't really like. I didn't really know what I was doing, and he's just like, just cut out most of your carbs,
yeah,
and just throw them around your workout. And I was like, okay. So I'd have like one of my meals at lunch at school was like I'd buy one of the burgers there, and I would take the bun off, and I would just eat. And I was like, yeah, and it worked. I mean, I got pretty lean. I just had no muscle.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the easiest way to do it. What was it like when you were in grade school?
Grade school. So that was so when I was a lot younger, even through high school, I would say high school, I kind of opened up. I was very, very much an introvert when I was younger. I wasn't very confident in myself. I wasn't a very like open kid. I wasn't like the popular kid or anything like that. And when my parents were always moving, when I was younger, we must have moved like 5 or 6 times maybe, because my dad was always opening other gyms until we got to the Golds, and we had that for a little bit. There's actually a point where in 6th grade I moved to Wisconsin or maybe 4th or 5th grade. I moved to Wisconsin for maybe a year, and because my dad was trying to open up a gym out there, so me and my mom and my little brother at the time, my little brother and my dad at that time, we all moved out there, and we lived on a tiny little farm in the middle of nowhere. Like, town was like 15 minutes away. Like, you couldn't order pizza where you're at because you're so far away from the damn town. It was pretty crazy. You take the bus to school, and it was like an hour-long road. Like, we had like these huge wood fields in the back. It was pretty cool as a kid. The snow was like up to your knees. It was pretty crazy. It was Mayville, and the population of that town was 4,000. So it was like everybody knew everybody. It was very interesting. It was kind of a cool experience. Yeah. But because I was always moving, I never really got to like make friends with people, you know. And the time where we kind of like settled down. So this is up to like 6th grade. I was always moving, and I never really could like make any good friends. And then 6th grade, we finally settled down in a place. That's when my dad opened the Golds. It was getting steady, and they put me in a private school. So it was a Catholic school. And that's when I started to kind of like I played sports. Like I kind of like got out of my shell a little bit, but I was still a real introvert. And like the thing with private schools is that like all those kids have been together since like kindergarten, like all their grades. Like there was only 30 people in our class, so there was 2 classes, and they would alternate in a grade. So there's 60 people total, and that was only people in your grade. And all those kids had been there since they were in kindergarten, and I'm the new kid coming in, and they're all looking at me like who the fuck is this kid?
Yeah.
So for the most part, girls didn't like me. The guys tolerated me, and I had like 2 friends. One of them is still my friend to this day.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of like it's not it was, I'm gonna say I got bullied, but not in the sense that like they beat you up. They just ignored you. It was like that kind of like that bullying where they like isolate you and they treat you like shit, and you're not really a part of them. Like you don't sit at their table. Like you're just kind of like thrown out, if that makes sense. And that's when I kind of started to become like more angry and more like introverted, and just kind of like kept away from people and just didn't like people. I played a lot of video games. I just kind of confided in myself. And I even remember a time like I was like, when I had gotten there, I was like, oh, I'm going to go ask out this girl, because I had started liking girls. And like, I asked
The way
out
you
this
said
girl,
it's so funny.
bro, they fucking made fun of me until I was like crying.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I hate these kids. So I was there for like 2 years. And I basically just got treated like shit, whatever. Then I started playing football and like kind of coming out of that. But I think that's kind of what got me into sports and weightlifting, because I was such an introvert, and I didn't really have like a good way of like expressing that anger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get in trouble and like beat up somebody. And there was no one to really beat up, because they didn't say anything to you. They just kind of like ignored you. But I hated it. And like, if you said anything to them, they treated you like you were a fucking leper. So it's just that type of bullying, you know. And when you're kids, like it's whatever, you know. I'm not fucking mad about it. Like they're kids. Like it is what it is, you know. But yeah, when I was a kid, I was very, very introverted because of that. And then as I grew up, I slowly became the way I am now. Now I'm super extroverted. I talk to everybody.
Yeah, I've noticed. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I actually went through the same thing where like I was just straight off like the fucking Africa. So I was just like, I was straight off from there. And then coming to America, I was like really secluded. Because
Really? You were born in Africa?
Yeah, you didn't know? I thought
Holy shit. No, I had no idea.
But yeah, I was born in Africa, and I came to America in like
Wow.
2002.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't know like a lick of English whatsoever. So like, I guess you could say I was very like shy and nervous to speak, because my English wasn't really the best at that point.
Yeah, that's even harder.
Yeah, it was difficult. I had like English as a second language and shit, so that was very interesting. But like you, I honestly didn't get along with the people I went to school with, and I also moved around like so many times. Like I was never at the exact same place for more than just like a year. It's always just like constantly moving, because like my mom's got a new job, or she just wants to go somewhere else. But I think one of the main reasons why she did that was because she wanted like a better education, or like a better schooling for me. So she kept on moving around until she found like the perfect spot that was good enough to kind of raise me in, which we did. But I also didn't really like belong, because because you just kind of, it's like you're the new kid on the block. Nobody knows who you are. And everyone has just been with themselves for like years, since they were like little kids, like you said. So like when you enter, you're just like, who the fuck is that kid? So you feel like a little bit like an outcast.
Yeah, you get isolated from everyone, and that's how it was. I never stayed in a school for more than like a couple of years at a time, so just moving around was always hard, because you had to make friends and then remake friends, and you know the drama when you're a little kid, like it's all cliquey, and like you have to be a part of this group, and if you're not part of this group, then, or if you are part of this group, then this group doesn't like you, and you know how it is.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so interesting, because you kind of see how like people actually function, and you kind of just in a way dislike the way that some people function.
Yeah.
But you kind of get it at the same time, so you kind of just go on and just become your own thing, you know.
The really good part about that, I think, and especially for people like me and you, seeing that when you're really young makes you like not scared of being different. It
Yeah.
makes you not scared of, because when you grow up when you grow up in a way where you're always the liked one, you're always popular, you're always part of the crew, like it doesn't work that way in the real world, you know, like you have to be your own person. And when you learn that at a young age, when you're isolated at a young age and like people don't like you anyway, so you're like,
Yeah.
well, I may as well do whatever I want, you know, I may as well go my own direction. It kind of opens up the doors really early. And I think that's why I was able to find bodybuilding, and not only find bodybuilding, but become so like passionate about it.
Yes.
Because even though it was something it's very against the grain. It's very different for a kid to like bodybuilding when they're 16 years old and like lift weights and eat all this food and do that and want to look a certain way. It makes you not afraid of it, because a lot of kids never really went after their goals or their dreams when they were younger, because their friends are like, oh, that's weird. Why would you want to do that? Like,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
again, everybody's cliquey. Everybody likes to do the same thing. But if nobody likes you anyway, you're like, well, I may as well do whatever the fuck I want. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Which is great, because that's kind of how like I started, because like, well, for me it was more of just like where there was more of like an anger issue at a certain point,
Yeah, there's
because
definitely anger there, man. There's a lot of pent up emotions when, you know, because kids are inviting or going to parties and they're inviting people to stuff and they're hanging out like at school or recess or after school, and like you're never invited.
yeah.
They're never even inviting you to go like eat lunch with them. Like you're eating
Mhm.
alone or with like your one friend, and it's
Yeah.
like that anger brews, man, and you have to have a way to fix that.
Yeah, and and the only option that I thought of while I was growing up was just to start lifting weights. And eventually, I'm sure you've been through it. Like the first few weeks or months of lifting, everyone was supposed to like come at you and fight you.
Oh yeah,
You
oh
start
yeah.
training.
Or they challenge you in whatever sports.
Yeah, they're just like,
I
oh,
think.
dude, you must be so good at sports. You're like the best or whatever because you look a certain way. It was very funny having to experience that.
Yeah, and then they start treating you a little different because they start taking
Yeah,
you more serious.
yeah, which I never really understood, because like it's also the fact that like when you start training, all of a sudden you like have this louder voice per se, where
You
anything
do,
you do or you do say, everyone just suddenly just feels terrible.
you
And
you do, because people look at you like, oh, he's gonna say something like
yeah,
you're an aggressive person, you know?
yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I kind of throughout like my whole life in a way. So I try to kind of like humble myself down a little to the point where I was just like, I don't want people to look at me that
It's
way.
funny. There's a couple like, because people look at you a certain way, they look at you as like they look at you immediately as being like a bigger, scarier person. You know, they don't see you as a soft person. They don't see you as a nice person.
Yeah.
So like whenever I'm meeting someone for the first time, even bodybuilders, even other bodybuilders, because you know we butt heads too.
Mhm.
But especially normal people, I'm very like I lower my voice is very like calm. I try not to have my voices like deep, and I'm very very friendly to people. I always shake people's hand. Like I go out of my way to be super super nice, so
Mhm.
they understand I'm not that type of person just because of the way I look. And
Yeah.
it's
It's
it
interesting.
sucks to have to do that, but it comes with the territory. Like if you're a mean person and you look this way, like people are really going to dislike you.
Yeah, people are
But if
just
you're a
gonna hate
nice
as much as
person and you
guts.
look this way, they're going to like you even more, because you
Yeah.
break that persona. You know, you
Mhm.
break that like narrative that people think.
That also gives us some sort of like a protection barrier. We're just like, oh, I got this really like Jack kid who's like really nice and caring. If anything
Yep,
goes wrong, we know who to rely on, kind of thing. So that was
exactly.
always really interesting and extremely funny. It's just, it's interesting growing up. I feel like in a way, um, I never had like the whole family thing where like they're part of the gym where they like lifted and they worked out their own gyms and stuff like that. I basically had nothing to begin with.
And that's even harder, man. Like I was lucky enough. Like my parents were always very like at home. My family was amazing. Like I always had a great family.
Mm,
Like my mom and dad always took care of me. They always supported everything I did. Like anything I wanted to do, they're like, "Yeah, go for it." You know.
yeah.
Even if they thought it was dumb, even they even told me like they were like, "We didn't think you'd keep bodybuilding. We just thought it was going to be a phase for you." But they still supported me. You know, they're like, "Hey, he wants to do this. Like, let him do it." You know.
Right?
But my dad being in a gym, like not very many 15-year-olds can walk into a gym and sign up at a gym, but I had like a legit gym. I had a trainer every single day, my dad, like teaching me exactly how to do. So I had a very big leg up on a lot
Yeah.
of people. So like my physique in high school was very good for compared
Mhm.
to most people, you know.
Yeah, I've always just kind of looked back at it. It's like I feel like I'm always behind you by like 2 to 3 years. It's always kind of funny just to look back. I'm just
And you
like,
got better genetics than me.
yeah, I'm just like, fuck.
But that's what it is, man. It's just it's always that it's that time put in.
Mm,
Like shit, I've been doing this. I'm 26 now, almost 27, so almost 12 years. Like bodybuilding. I mean, like bodybuilding. Like since my dad was like, "Hey, here's a diet, here's a training plan. Like you're gonna get big as possible."
yeah.
So it's like it takes a long time.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of funny. We're also the same age,
Yeah, it's
which is great. Um,
crazy, man.
so after high school, assuming college or no college?
So I didn't go to college directly after high school. I hated school. The first thing I wanted to do was out. I
Mm,
almost failed out of my senior year because I was so like I was just so ready to be done. My problem was is like I was so knowledgeable about training and diet and like the gym world. And in high school too, I was also working for my dad at his. So he lost the golds in the 0809 economy breakdown or whatever,
mm,
the economic collapse, and he had another gym in downtown in our area. It was a smaller gym, but it was a nice gym. And I would go and I would work after school for a couple hours until like 9 o'clock until the gym closed, and I would just work the front desk. So I was making a little bit of money. I was getting good at like talking to people, and I was just getting like into the gym atmosphere. Um, so I liked that and I enjoyed that, and I thought school was a huge waste of time, and I was like, I want to get out and make money. Like I'm tired of being like treated like a little kid, and
yeah.
I felt like I was so much like more mature, and to be honest, I was a lot more mature than most people my age at that time. Like I was very like driven. I was very like I had a goal, like I already knew what I wanted to do.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Do you think that just because you started bodybuilding at such an early age and the work ethic, the effort, the time, and everything else that it took to like the discipline itself, do you feel like that was sort of like your way to kind of mature through life? Just out of
100%.
curiosity.
That was like the rock that kept me through life because it was something that like even if everybody had like their own talent. That was my talent. That
Yeah.
was something that nobody else had on me. Nobody my
Uh-huh.
age that I knew in my area had on me. Like I knew more about it. I was better at it. It was like my thing,
Hmm.
and I feel like it was something that gave me my identity.
Yeah.
So and that was so big because bodybuilding was everything to me. Again, it was my identity. It was who I was, and that gave me more confidence. Because again, when you're a kid growing up, like you have so many different things pulling at you. You have the adults telling you this thing, you have kids telling you this, and like you have all these different factors and aspects pulling at you, and it's so hard to like find yourself, like who you are. And I feel like a lot of people were like they didn't know who they were, but they weren't really trying to find it. They were just kind of faking their way through it.
Hmm.
Versus like I was very, very blessed and lucky because I knew who I was. I found that really early, and I was like, I'm gonna take this to the top. Like this is my life. This is my dream. Like this isn't a phase, like as everyone liked to think it was.
Yeah.
Like this is, and that's what built like that structure in my life. Absolutely.
Hmm. This all goes back to I remember like when we were kids, you would always say, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna do really good with this. I got this. I'm gonna do the best that I can." You're always like so hard working, and you kind of like train really hard. And it was just always just interesting to just like watch and just gradually see you grow, gradually over time, having your own business, getting married, doing all the stuff that you've been doing. It's just it's been interesting watching all that going on, and I'm just like, wow, he never really gave up on what he wanted, and in a way, that actually like drive me to kind of like do the exact same, because I've been competed since my first competition was in 2013, I think,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah, I didn't place so well. That was like the men's physique one that I did, and um, talking to you guys and having you guys to kind of like have a conversation with was always just like, wow, these guys are always working really hard, so I always got to push myself harder. And then you did your first show, and I was just like, fuck, Jason did a really good job, and I kind of was just like, fuck, trying to like put this in overdrive and shit like that.
Well, I'm glad I could help you, man. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's
was
just,
really
and
motivational.
it's hard for everyone, like, especially like when you're first starting and you see all these guys that are so, it's such a, it's such a crazy long journey.
Mm,
And like, we're talking something that takes, it's not like NFL football is hard. Don't get me wrong. But
yeah.
like to get to the NFL that's a couple year journey. Like the
Mm,
guys in the NFL are in their 20s.
yeah.
Bodybuilding, like you don't mature until you're like in your 30s and your 40s. Like that's when like you come out and that's when you're on the Olympia stage, winning pro shows and stuff usually.
Mm,
So it's very, very hard to like keep yourself motivated for that long. You know, you do it for the first year, you're still really excited. Then you get to year 2, 3, 4, you're still excited, but the progress slows down. And then you go to like year 5 and you're like, shit, I've been doing this a long time. Like
yeah.
it wears on you, you know, and it's like to keep that motivation that entire time is very difficult. And
Mm,
especially when like you go through humps where it's like you think you're going to win a show and then you get crushed, or you think your year is going to be really good and you get injured. You know, there's things that are such like high obstacles, and like to keep doing this for so long is like it's just a testament to like our willpower and that and truly that passion for it too. You gotta love it. If you don't love it, you ain't gonna do this shit. Like
yeah,
it's
right.
way
And
too hard. I would do more. I would do other things if I didn't like this. There's
yeah,
plenty of
exactly.
other things I could do.
It's funny, like looking back and thinking about the new kids that are coming up.
Mhm.
For them, bodybuilding is like extremely hard, or just lifting in general is so difficult that like they don't really take that time to mature, to learn the ins and out, the basics, and then kind of like develop into like again their own person. Instead, they just rush things a little.
They do, and when I first started, it was like it wasn't what I could do in 6 months or a year. I was excited to be like, oh, well, what am I going to look like when I'm 20? What am I going to
Yeah.
look like when I'm 25? Like
Mm,
that was like my thought process. And the guys don't really think that way. They're teenagers starting this or whatever, and they're like, oh, what am I going to look like in 6 months? I'm like, nothing. You're going to look almost the same. Like you're not going to be that much crazier. You know, you might have 5 more pounds of muscle, which 5 pounds of muscle in six
it's a
months is
lot.
awesome. That's great
Yeah.
progress.
Mm,
Well, people don't think it's enough. They're like, oh, I got to gain 20 pounds in 6 months. I'm like, I wish it worked that way. Or they're like, oh, I want to look like you in a couple years. I'm like, yeah, you better be pretty
need to
genetically
bust your
gifted and have
balls.
the best parents.
Yeah, it's a long way down. The road to hell is paved with good intention or some shit like that. I don't know.
Something like that. That sounds
Something,
about right.
yeah, something close to that. What like through the years, what are some ups and downs that you've faced
um,
just overall
in
in life?
just in life.
Yeah.
What's this? Um, and a lot. I think one of the biggest ones. So going back to my I graduated high school and I started working for my dad immediately.
Mm,
And I worked as like a manager for him. So I took a lot of the like the bullshit work he didn't want to do. I was selling memberships. Kind of got me into like the gym world. And then what happened with that is that lasted maybe about a year. And then his partner in that gym, he found out was stealing money from him. And then like none of the equipment was registered. Like it was basically all stolen. And he was like, you know what, I'm done. And he just left. And then I was out of a job for a little bit. And then I started working at Gold's. After he had lost it, it was still there, but the new people who had bought it. So I started working there, and that job was awesome. I mean, I was like 19 years old, and I just started that, and I was making like $3,000-4,000 a month, living with my parents. Like it was an amazing job, amazing
yeah.
experience. Like I was really, really good at it. I eventually went from like selling memberships to selling personal training to being the personal training manager. Like it was a really, really cool experience, and I was really hyped on life. Everything was going good. Bodybuilding was good. That was about the time I was on the Goon Squad forum too, with you guys, and my dad was working for another company after he had lost that gym, and it was a telecom firm. So what they did is they buy cell tower leases. So you have Farmer John has a piece of property. Verizon comes over and says, "Hey, we'll rent this 100 by 100 square foot like piece of land that you don't use. We'll put a cell tower on it and we'll pay you $1,000 a month." He's like, "Sure, I'm not using it anyway." And we come in and we say, "Hey, we'll pay you 10 years worth of that rent up front, and we'll take over the rent for a certain period of time. So that's what we did. And it was a really cool opportunity. Like, you get like a really good base pay. The commissions were huge. Like, it was $100,000 a year type job if you could do well at it. And I was like, cool, like this is my next step in the corporate world. Like, everything was going really, really great. So I'm like, I'm always moving up. And then I got to that job. I fucking hated it. It was like a ton of cold calls. It wasn't in my realm. I couldn't connect with these people because they're just, most of them were like old. It was either like old people that owned like farms or like CEOs of $1 million companies. And I couldn't, and I was like 20 at the time, and I just could not like create a connection. I couldn't vibe with these people, and I couldn't do any of the deals. Like, it didn't work very well. So I worked there for about a year, and I was like, you know what, like, this isn't for me. This sucks. And I just quit that job. And then I didn't really know what to do, because I was like, I can't go back to Golds now. And I don't know like what I want to do with my life. Like, I want to be a bodybuilder, but I got to make money. So I was like, I'll go to school. I'll go back to school. So I signed up at a community college, and I'm like 21 now, and go to college. I go for maybe like a year and a half. I hate it. And I hate it. I'm like, fuck school. I don't know why I went back to this. I don't know what I'm doing. This was a bad decision too. And I'm going to school. I'm working a job as a personal trainer at another gym. And then I'm also working security at night. I'm getting like 2 to 3 hours of sleep at night. I'm like trying to kill myself because I'm trying to do something, like make something of myself. Luckily, I was working or I was living with my parents, so I didn't have any like crazy bills. But I'm trying to afford all my stuff for bodybuilding while going to school, and I'm like, I hate this. And eventually, I was like, you know what, school's not for me, and I quit that too. And now I'm like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life, and I'm just kind of in like this weird like funk. I know that I want to be a bodybuilder, but I don't know what I want to do with a career. And the whole time I'm doing this, everyone's like, "Don't be a trainer. Don't be a trainer. If you're a trainer, you're that's the low job. That's what all the bodybuilders do. Like, that's not where you make your money. Like, you got to have a real career." Everybody says that, and I'm like, okay, I need to do that. And all I'm doing at this point is just working security. I'm working security like 40 hours a week. I'm doing two different places, and it's okay. I like it. Like, it's a cool job. You get to talk to a lot of people, network with a lot of people. It teaches you a lot of good life skills. Talking people down, like really getting into real confrontations with people. Like it was very like helpful to me. Oops.
Oh,
that work?
You're good.
Yeah,
You're
my
good.
phone battery. And
And
I'm just kind of learning through this. And a couple years goes by, and me and Chandler meet in like 2016. And that was like, I just was in like a weird time in my life. Like, I know what I want to do. I'm doing it, but I just don't know what I'm going to do like with my career path, like with my life. And I'm just kind of just working like security jobs. They're just okay, but not crazy. I meet Chandler in like 2016. We hit it off amazing. We move in together after like 4 months because my parents are like, "Hey, we're going to move to Florida, so you can't live with us anymore." I'm like, "Oh shit." So me and Chandler move in together after 4 months, and we start prepping for a show in 2017. So that was when I was about 23. And that's when I really hit my stride in bodybuilding. Like, that was the first time I came in crazy condition. Like, I was looking nuts for that show. My Instagram started growing really quickly. And then I had people hitting me up, like saying like, "Hey, do you train people?" And I was like, "No, I don't. I just work security, but I mean, I'm not going to throw away money." So I started taking on a few clients. And that was the first show. I had done maybe 5 shows up until then. And that was the first show I ever did where my bank account grew, and I had more money in my bank account than I did before the show. And I was like, whoa, this could be a thing.
yeah, so that's how
I was like, okay, like, let's start building this. So I was like, everyone was telling me like, don't train people. But that's when online training was starting to become big. And I was like, okay, like maybe this could be something I could do. And I started seeing people that were making a lot of money training. And I saw these like Instagram influencers getting big on this. And I'm like, this is a big thing. Like I could do this. And I just started slowly building up my training while I was working security, and things were getting better and better. Me and Chandler are doing amazing. And I eventually got to a point where I was like, I told myself, if you get 50 clients, you quit everything and you go straight into training. That's it. And I got my 50th client, and I put in my 2 weeks at my security, and I was like, that's it. We're gonna just train people. And Chandler was still working a job at a nutrition company too. And in 2018 is when things really started getting rolling. I made Kohli Conditioning the brand, and it just fucking blew up from there. And now I have like 150 odd clients, maybe somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So that was when I kind of like truly found it. But it was funny because my whole life, everybody told me, don't be a trainer, don't be a trainer. Like, that's not where you're going to make your money. Like that's not the thing to do. Like, go to school, get a real job. And again, that was the key to success, is what everybody was telling me not to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of lost that, is being that individual person. And I tried to like conform to what everybody wanted, like go to school, do this, do that, work the corporate job. And those were terrible. Like, I did it all. It sucks. Like, it was much, much better just following what my passion was and I thought was good for me. I'm really glad I ended up finally finding that and just going for it,
Yeah, man. I feel you. It's always just so funny when people just tell you to do something else. I think
Yeah.
I was like thinking about this last night, how I've cut people off that told me to live my life the way that they want me to live my life. Yeah, no, that's not happening. You can get the fuck out of here.
It's crazy, man. Like, even to this day, I get people where they're like, well, why don't you do this? I'm like, well, why would I do that? Like, I'm already doing what I love, or that, it's funny. But my close friends who are like in my close group are the people who are like, hey, build this, like build this empire, build what you have, like add to it, add other things to it. But this is your bread and butter. Like, this is what you love to do. This is what you're the best at, and I feel like a lot of people fail, or maybe fail, but they don't
fail,
go in
they
the
conform.
ideal. They don't have the best. Yeah, they conform. They don't get to do what they love to do, and they don't get any success out of what they chose to do because they didn't go after what they wanted, Yeah. Like, you're always going to do better at what you want to do rather than just going the path of being like, oh, that's going to make me more money, Like people will say like it'd be better to make less money at what you love to do than make more money at what you don't love to do. But I think that's incorrect, because if you do what you love to do, you're eventually going to find a way to make money doing it,
Yeah, it's all
like,
about
you're going to find that right path.
Yeah, exactly. I actually just went through the exact same thing where I was working at a store as like a manager. I was making a good amount of money. Life was like peachy, but like again, I didn't like it. I didn't.
It's not what you like. Yeah.
I was just like I would not have a life. I would just wake up, go to work, and then I was still personal training between that job and like personal training and then doing other stuff, plus going to school on top of it.
Yeah.
Trying to do the usual conform and stuff like that. So around this April, I actually ended up quitting my job that was making me a lot of money. And quitting that was kind of like the biggest mind fuck.
Yeah. You're scared,
Yeah.
It's a very scary thing. Like quitting a comfortable job is like, oh shit, like,
yeah,
that's the hardest thing, and that's why people never really get to do what they want, because they're so attached to that. It's like a relationship. Like, they've been in this relationship for 5 years. They know it's a bad relationship, but they're like, well, I don't want to end it and have to build this again with somebody else.
Yeah.
But like, that's what's holding them back, it's so hard to make that step, to make that leap.
Yeah,
that leap of
faith, and just like land wherever it lands you, it's where you land. And that's literally exactly what I did. I kind of was just like, you know what, I'm done. And
gotta do it.
And then COVID happened, so I spent like literally 2 months basically panicking. How am I gonna pull out of this?
Yeah.
How am I gonna make more money? How am I gonna do that after COVID is over and stuff like that? And ironically, it turned out pretty well.
Good.
Yeah, because
that's awesome.
Yeah, now I'm like training clients and stuff like that. I work at the gym. The weird thing about, I don't like commercial gyms. I'm starting to realize that.
Mhm.
Commercial gyms for bodybuilders is like it's a dead end career.
It is 100%.
It is such a dead end fucking career.
But I will say this: you need to learn, and this is what helped me too as a trainer. You need to learn how to train people at a commercial gym before you learn to train people on your own.
Yeah.
The skills that I learned training normal people, because truth is, especially for people like us, training bodybuilders is super easy. Like they're very, very easy. We get along very well. Like the exercises we do, the nutrition we do, like we know that, you know. But what will challenge you is building a relationship with someone like you're completely different. They work a completely different job. They're not into fitness. You're trying to get them into fitness. You know, you're doing you're thinking outside the box because they're doing exercises that maybe they can't do, or maybe you wouldn't normally do because they have injuries or because they're just fucking weak. Or just because they don't want to do it, you know, it makes you think outside the box, and building connections with people that you're not used to building connections with will really like open and broaden your horizon, you know?
Yeah, I've noticed.
Rather than just staying in this little tiny bubble with all these bodybuilders, you know, it kind of opens.
Can get so chaotic at times if you get too involved into it. So you got to sometimes take a step back every so often and just be like, you know what, there's that, and then there's your lane, and then you kind of figure out what you have to do. I think that's also another thing about bodybuilding is this, like, when you get really too deep into it, you tend to just be like literally just be really deep and submersed into it to the point where you sort of just like, I don't know how to say it, but like it all becomes about your circle just being bodybuilders. I feel like the circle should just be open with everybody else besides just bodybuilders. Should be like more people, like people who work out, who do other jobs, desk jobs and stuff like that. Have like different like groups of individuals to be with.
That's really, really big, man. And I've, over the last couple of years of my life, I've definitely realized that, because there were periods of time in my life where like bodybuilding was it. Like all my friends were bodybuilders, all my friends online were bodybuilders. Like I didn't associate myself with anybody that wasn't a bodybuilder. Like, but the problem is like it puts you in this little bubble, and you don't really know what goes on in the outside world. And there are so many more opportunities if you open yourself up to everybody, you know, because you got to remember, like, just because someone doesn't want to be a bodybuilder doesn't mean they're not interested in what you have to do. Like, there are people that look at you and they're like, I want to know what you know. Like, I want to be friends with you. Like, I want to be part of your world. I just don't want to be that big, but I want to be bigger. Like, I want to be better.
It motivates them to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think when you open that too, especially as a trainer, because you're going to have so many people now, because the bodybuilding industry, the fitness industry has opened up so much to normal people. And because of men's physique, because of classic physique, because of bikini, because of figure, because of wellness now too, you know, men and women that wouldn't normally have looked at bodybuilding or the fitness industry or competing are now looking at it and going, wow, that's attainable. Like, I can look like that. Like, and these are people with completely different backgrounds than we're normally used to looking at, and you can learn a lot from these people, just like they learn a lot from us, you know. And like that just opens your horizon, and it just expands your knowledge base. It just makes you an overall like well-rounded person. And I think being able to talk to, especially if you're going to be essentially an entrepreneur by having your own business as a trainer, like having that help and that knowledge and like that wisdom from other people that have other types of businesses that you're even working with is going to help you a lot too. And I think that's what helped propel my business, is like having so many clients that are entrepreneurs that have their own businesses, and learning from them and taking little things and be like, oh, that's smart. Like I could apply that to my own business, or I could apply that to myself, you know, and improve yourself and make you better. It's just, and just having a better life, man. Like you're gonna find people that aren't in the bodybuilding industry. That guy might be your best friend for the rest of your life, you know.
Yeah, I think most of my friends actually, when I did bodybuilding, well, I still am, they were guys who didn't lift. Like Bamshi, for example, he was like one of my closest friends, and he's not the best person out there. But just like who he is as a person, he's just like, he has his moments, but now he's older, he's a lot more mature. But it was just interesting having just like those group of people. They're just different from you. You learn a lot more, and
Yeah,
it
man.
makes you like a well-rounded person, like you said. And that's probably the most interesting thing that most people who bodybuild tend to kind of shy away from that, and they lose so much opportunity because they're not willing to be open-minded.
100%. And I think in its own way, it actually prevents you from being a better bodybuilder too.
Yeah.
If you get so encapsulated in this, and I find that in almost every prep I do, I always have to have a prep hobby.
Yeah.
So because I'm so focused on the prep that if all I do is focus on the prep, that's all my mind thinks about, and I get sick of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, too much of a good thing is bad. Yeah, you don't like it. You start doing it, and you're like, this is a job now. It's not fun anymore. Like, I always have to have a hobby of some kind that I'm like equally obsessed with during prep that doesn't affect my prep. So let's say like a video game or something. Like, I can sit and I can play a video game that I get really into. And I'm equally obsessed with that. And I'm like, I can focus on this too while focus on bodybuilding. But it gives my mind something else to think about and something to enjoy, you know? Because again, people get so focused on bodybuilding. You see all the time, these guys get so focused on bodybuilding that they burn out. And I've had so many kids, I mean, you remember, so many kids that we grew up with, like, they don't even lift weights anymore. I mean, let alone bodybuilding, you know. And these guys were amazing when they were younger. I can name a couple off.
I can name a couple up too at the top of my head.
Yeah, they
don't want to name.
They don't even enjoy it.
Yeah. You said you had other hobbies and stuff like that. What video games are you currently playing right now?
Oh yeah. Currently, I've been playing Destiny 2 a lot. I used to be really, really good at Destiny 1. Me and my buddy were like top 300 players in the world.
Jeez. Nice.
We were really good at that game. I just got back into RuneScape like last year.
Did you really?
Oh
my God, dude.
That game brought back my childhood, bro. I was like, oh man, I played for hours. Like, it felt like my childhood again. I still play every so often.
Didn't we like have an account where we like went on there? And I think we played together.
Oh yeah, back in the day, that's right.
Yeah, we fucking played.
Man, I was like,
holy shit.
I get too much into it, but back then I was staking like crazy. I had that maxed account. I put in so much time. I made a maxed account in one prep.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nuts. I was still put like a couple 100 hours into it.
Yeah.
But nice. Yeah, dude, that game's fun, man. Like, it's just something that gets your mind out of it. I like RPG games. Like, I'll play shooters, but I like role playing games because it's like it's like getting my mind out of the real world and going into a fantasy land that I can be something completely different. You know, it's fun, you know, like Skyrim, Fallout, The Witcher, like games like that, just like, it's so cool.
Yeah, The Witcher 3 was really nice.
Oh yeah. I played that game fucking 3 times through.
It's like long as fuck, like hours of grinding. Just grinding around was a bit of a pain.
There's a lot of fun. But I think video games are amazing, man. They do teach you a lot, you know. It's funny to say, like, I learned saving money and how economy works from RuneScape. And you know what? If you want a certain item or a weapon, you got to work for it really hard, and you got to save your money so you can afford it. And then you got to make sure, like the item doesn't go up or down or whatever it is. Like,
was that when you were like mining for like minerals for like mining and stuff, and then kind of like crafting gears and then selling them? Going to the market and then just buying it for like a really low ass price, and then resell it for a higher value and just make bank.
You learn how to be an investor too.
Yeah, that's
at a very simple level, but like it kind of opens up your mind. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I'm also like, I've always been really big into RPGs and just like anime in general. So I've been playing Final Fantasy. This game that just came out called Neo 2 or Neo.
I've heard of that game. It's like
it's like
that game Souls. Called the really hard one. Yeah, like Dark Souls.
But it's like more of like a Japanese kind of setting, so it's more fast paced. So it's not like as slow as when you're playing Dark Souls. That's why I didn't like Dark Souls. And plus, the first boss in like Dark Souls 3, couldn't beat, so I quit. Yeah, like a legit quit.
That game's fucking hard.
What else do you do? What other hobbies do you have?
Really, right now, I mean, video games are my main hobby. I need to play more video games. Like, there comes times where I get so busy with work and bodybuilding that like I'll literally stop myself and be like, hey, I'm forcing myself to play like 4 hours of video games tonight because I get so focused. Like I'll sit on my phone for hours, bro, hours. And like it's fun to me, don't get me wrong. Like I enjoy my work and I enjoy my job, but at the same time, like it's one of those things you get too sucked into it and like you lose that passion. Because there's been times where like I'll go through a couple months of being like kind of down about it. I'll be like, man, I don't want to, oh, I got to train this guy. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'm not excited about it. Yeah. But like, I gotta rejuvenate that, you know? It's the same thing with bodybuilding. Like there's times I'll be like, oh, like a month, I don't really feel like going to the gym, but you know, you gotta re-dip yourself in the motivation pool and be like, all right, let's enjoy this.
Let's do this. Let's go in there and have a good time.
But lately right now, it just because of COVID too, because I'm really trying to grind things out in terms of business. I've been really, really busy with business, busy with bodybuilding. So the most of my day is working for the most part, just being on my phone, doing phone calls, diet changes, just making sure everyone's taken care of, you know? So not the best with hobbies, I guess. The one good thing is like, we're blessed. We have an amazing house in San Diego with like a pool and shit. So like we'll throw a party like once a month and just bring a bunch of people over and stuff. Like I would say we have a pretty
is Governor Newsom going to be okay with that?
That's why he's going to send the SWAT team over. Yeah. Oh man, craziness. And I know, and the thing that sucks too is, man, like not to go too much into the politics of all this bullshit, but like people are depressed, you know, like there's no way you can go around. Like you quarantine everyone and tell them to sit in their house for months and months and months. You know, they have no human contact. They don't even go to work. Like, yeah, you pay them money, but like, what's the point of money if you can't like hang out with your friends and stuff? So there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hang out. People get depressed, man. I mean, I've had a couple clients relapse, and it's not great, you know. But that's why I feel like us having a party and bringing some people over and just bringing people together and having some fun, you know, drinks, whatever. It's just like it's good for your health, you know. People are tribal, you know. People gotta like come together. People like to be in groups. People like to be social. Like you isolate people for too long and they have problems.
You know? That goes on too. A lot of depression. Stress on top of everything else that's going on. It's
and it's all about quality of life, man. Like if I don't have my quality of life, like what's the point of me living? Like
exactly.
I could give a shit less if I live to 80 years old if I have a shitty life, you know?
Yeah. That's kind of
all about the quality of it.
What are you saying?
It's all about the quality of it. And yeah, exactly. Like I was a bit extreme when I was a kid, but when I was younger, like when I was in my teens, like early 20s, I was like, I don't care if I die by 50. If I have an amazing life, you know, bodybuilding and hit all my goals. Now 50 is a little extreme now that I'm a little older, but at the same time, like I still have that mentality of like, I don't care how old I am, as long as or how old I live to, as long as I have a quality life, you know. Like I have amazing friends. I get to do what I want, you know. I'm not going to go like, I don't want to go to a job I hate every single day, or I don't want to go do things that I hate every single day. I don't want to be with a woman that I dislike, you know, in a bad relationship. Like everything in my life is like what I want it to be, you know. And if it isn't what I want it to be, I'm going to fucking change it now, not later. You know, I'm not going to wait 10 years like some people do. You know, I'm going to realize like, hey, like time, everything is about that is right now. You know what I mean? Like what you need to do to be able to change things now is important. Like you don't wait on that, you know? So,
and, I think about these things all the time because what you literally just said, again, I was thinking about it a few days ago, is that when you're young, live your life and do whatever you need to do now, because when you get older, you're not going to have that chance to live the life as you wanted when you were younger.
Exactly.
If you want to be successful, do it in your 20s or do it when you start like a teen. If you want to like have all these dreams, just start doing it now, because when you get older, man, that shit's gonna be hard to do.
It is. It's harder to do, and you don't have the same like mindset, you know. Because
Yeah,
when you get older, like you think like, oh, I'm supposed to have everything set up. Like I can't make any big risks, and that's not necessarily true. Like you can still do that, but like anything that happens in your 20s, like you can bounce back from. Like it don't fucking matter.
yeah,
You can go
exactly.
bankrupt. You can do whatever, bro. You can have so many fucking failures. It don't matter. Like now is the time to really like do whatever you want, and figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life, you know. And not even necessarily monetarily, but like just 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 things in your life that you want to be constants, you know. Like there's nothing you can do right now that you can jump right back from it. You know, you go to jail, that's all right. You know, you
Yeah,
you learn from it. Don't go back to jail. Like now's the best time
yeah,
to do it. Don't
yeah,
do it when you're 50.
yeah. Because when you're 50, you'll probably be in there for 20 years, and once you're
Yeah.
70, you're like everything's over. It's like, what are you gonna do now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
exactly.
it's just much easier. You're younger. You have a fresher mindset. You know, you haven't started aging. You're not slowing down. Like now's the time to make stuff happen. You know, and the more time you have to make a dream happen, the better, the bigger and better that dream can be. You know.
100%, man. I greatly appreciate this. This has been a very interesting
Of course, man.
podcast. And also, just a tip, just like an advice for people who are watching, what would you give the audience who are watching this, like, as an advice towards their own life that could, like, add something to what they're doing in life? I know.
And just it's a tough one because there's so many.
Yeah.
Not even. I mean, what I just said, man. Like, I mean, to expand on it, like if there's something in your life that you do not like, change it now. Like the worst thing that I see with people is like they let something that they constantly dislike, or I hear them complain about it all the time, and they go back to it over and over and over, whether it be a relationship, a job, a hobby, fucking whatever it may be. Like if there's something in your life you don't like, fucking change it. Don't sit there and wait for it to change itself. Like you got to make the decisions now. Like you got to be willing to make decisions in your life to make your life better. And most people aren't willing to do that, you know. And what's gotten me to this point in life, it's funny to say, is quick decisions. Like things that I just didn't really think about. I was like, you know what, let's go do that. Let's go do that. You know,
Mhm.
like things where I'm like, you know what, that sounds great. Like let's go do it. You know, because a lot of people will sit there and think about it. They're like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? Like you got to make the decision. You got to make the action happen. And whether it fails or not, who gives a shit? You'll get right back up, you know. But at
Yeah.
least you went and did it.
And that's all that matters at the end of the day. You just do
Yeah,
it,
man.
get better.
Yeah, and still to this day, man. Like I'm sitting here, I'm making decisions every single day. Like I'm taking action on things. I'm not just sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? That's what I need to do. That's the direction I got to go. All right, let's start that. You know, whatever it may take. Let's take the first step. You know, I want to buy a rental property next year, so I'm taking the steps. Like, hey, what steps do I need to take to get that done? You know, I may not be able to do everything right now, but let's start going in that direction. Like, and let's
Going
do it
there
right now. Let's
one day
not
at a
wait till
time.
Monday. You know,
Yeah.
let's do it right now. It's Thursday. Let's fucking do it on Thursday. Like, let's do it
Mhm.
right now. Let's stop what we're doing. You know, and it's the same thing with bodybuilding. And I think that's what taught me with bodybuilding is like, hey, like we're gonna make diet changes. We're not gonna wait till Monday. Like, let's do it right now, today, right now. What meal are we on? All right, let's make the changes for the rest of the day. You know,
Mhm.
or hey, you wanna change your body? Like, go sign up at a gym right now. Don't sit there and wait. You know, go sign up with a trainer right now. Like, in order to make things happen, like you got to make those decisions. You can't just sit there and think about them.
Yeah, because the longer you think about it, the more time's going to pass by, and all of a sudden you can't do it
More
anymore.
more time's gonna pass by, and honestly, it seems so much scarier the longer you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
If you just do it right then and there, you're like, oh, all right, let's fucking do it. I'm excited. You know?
Mm. Awesome. Well, I'm sure they're going to love that piece of advice. As for me, for this year, it's time to become a fucking pro.
Hell yeah.
That's the fucking goal. Let's do it.
That's right. Let's do it. Look at those fucking arms. I
Yeah, I'm
already
fucking
told you, bro.
excited.
You know, I told you
I know,
a
I know,
long, long
I know.
time ago. You have the potential to be whoever the fuck, like, as good as you want to be. You can be all the way to the top.
I know.
And
Last year
especially the
was
way you look right now, like bodybuilding or classic, like you could pick
yeah.
pick either one. You got it. You know.
Yeah, last year was kind of like the breaking point. I was a spot away from my pro card.
and you looked fucking amazing. And all you gotta do is put in that little extra work, just a little.
Yeah. That's what this year is gonna be.
It's right here, bro. You're right there.
Work. That's what this year's gonna be. I'm already looking pretty good about 18 weeks out, actually.
Good.
And then I'm doing 2 shows. I'm doing the Universe, if just in case one of them gets canceled, I have 2 options available.
And the Amateur O?
Yep.
Hell
I'm pretty fucking pumped up for that. So if the Universe ends up not going through, I'm ready for the Amateur O. If the Universe
That's smart. That's what I thought about with mine too, because if any of those happen, I might end up doing the Amateur O too, just because it's 1 week after the USA.
Perfect. And if you do, I'm likely gonna be in light heavy, or no, middleweight.
Sweet. You'll crush the middles, dude. You'll absolutely crush them.
I'm doing my best that I can. It's going to be a fucking great year. I'm excited. Everything's on point. I'm not going to binge. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to fucking follow the course. And I think it's fucking time, dude. And it's just been annoying.
I'm excited for you.
Be up there.
Just go out there and fucking get it. That's what life's about. Just go get what you want. It's right there.
Yeah, definitely, man. I greatly appreciate this, and hopefully I'll keep in touch more often. All right.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right. Thank you, dude.
No problem, brother.